You're listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. Discover ways to secure your home, protect your family, and embrace your role as a protector parent. Welcome, friend. I'm Andy Murphy, the creator of The Secure Dad. This podcast serves to help families become proactive in their safety. The information I share on this podcast is for general information purposes only. My goal is to empower you to make safer decisions for yourself and your family. Today, I want to share with you a few safety tips on how to be secure at your front door. I'll share how to keep people from charming their way into your home, plus I'll share with you a story from when I believe someone was casing my home for a robbery and what happened to me while I was writing this episode. All of that and more ahead on the Secure Dad Podcast. If you're listening to this show, then chances are protecting your home is very important to you. I want you to consider my best-selling book, Home Security: The Secure Dad's Guide. In this book, I share with you simple things that you can do to protect your home. Plus, I share my layered home defense strategy that will keep your home safe. Now, what makes this book different is that it is geared towards parents. So the book gets right to the point because as busy parents, we can't devote an hour a day for 2 weeks to read about home security. That book is just going to be put on the shelf and collect dust. My book has been so popular that even scammers have gotten into the action. Recently, my book was plagiarized on Amazon. Somebody copied and pasted the Kindle version of my book into their own book, changing very few words. Now, this plagiarized book has been removed, but you can get the real one on Amazon when you search for The Secure Dad. Just look for the book with my logo on it. If you scroll the internet in the places that I do, you'll find video after video of people trying to break into a home through the front door. Now, I've covered this topic before, but I'm seeing so much of this footage that I feel like we've got to talk about it again, and I'm going to share some new insights. I understand that video doorbells have increased in popularity and that also crime has gone up, so that leads to more videos of break-ins. And while these videos are scary, we can learn from them. So let's push past our fear for a greater understanding. Now, while it seems counterintuitive, the front door is still the most common way that bad guys get into a home. But on a basic level, it kind of makes sense in the fact that the front door is made for quick, easy access to your home. We don't climb in and out of the windows every day. I mean, some of you might, but you need to get your front door fixed. So for bad guys, why break a window? Why climb to the second floor to an open window or dig a tunnel under your home when you can just get through the front door? And why break into the front door when you can charm someone into opening up that door for you? So here's my experience with a situation like this. Sometime a few years ago, I was at home by myself. I'm not sure if I was off that day, I was sick, I don't remember, but I was home on a weekday morning. The doorbell rang, and I wasn't expecting anybody. So as I approached the front door, I could hear somebody try the handle on my storm door. And this immediately waved a red flag for me. Knowing that the storm door was locked, I decided to open the door and talk to whoever was on my porch. Note that I didn't have a security camera there at the time, so I looked through the peephole to see what was going on before I made that decision. When I opened the door, I saw a man turning away to leave. There was also a sedan stopped at the street at my mailbox. The man waved his hand and said that he was at the wrong house and that I wasn't the friend that he was looking for. He walked off my porch and I closed the door, and the whole thing was weird. In the minutes after that, I had a few questions. Why did this guy come to my home? Why did he try to open my storm door? Why was he turning to leave as I answered the door? There wasn't enough time for him to see my face to know that I wasn't the friend that he was looking for. What had just happened? While I can't say for 100% certain, I believe that this may have been intelligence gathering to see if somebody was in my home. I believe that he was casing my home for a mid-morning break-in, which is a common time for break-ins. He left because he knew that I was home, and he didn't want to deal with a confrontation with me. So let's talk about first what raised that red flag for me in this situation. I want you to know this because it may be the thing that sets off your internal alarm too, and honestly, it should. What got me on the defensive was the man ringing the doorbell and then trying the handle on my storm door. Why is he trying to remove that barrier before I open the door? The short answer is, he wants quick access to my home, and he wanted in fast. And he didn't want me to have to remove the barrier. He wanted to remove the barrier himself. Now, I'm going to tell you that the majority of service workers who will come to your home, they're trained to make contact with you at the front door. HVAC technicians, utility workers, and carpet cleaners are all trained to knock on the door and then move back. That's important. They create distance between themselves and the door. They know that if they stay at the door, they're going to make people defensive. They also run the risk of getting shot if they don't, so it works for the benefit of everybody. Be very wary of the person who tries to open your storm door or doesn't back away immediately from the door after they ring the bell or after they knock. I would not open the door for that person. Either yell at them through the door or use your video camera to talk to them to see what their story is. Do not blindly open the door for that person. Back in 2020, in the state of Illinois, 2 men posed as workers to enter a home that was occupied by a family. In this case, the Ring doorbell footage showed 2 important details as to the intent of those men who were trying to rob the home. The lead guy on this 2-man team opens the storm door, tries the doorknob, and then he knocks at the door. No legitimate employee of any company is going to do that. They're not going to open your storm door, check the doorknob, and then knock. That will not happen. When the homeowner engaged with the men through the Ring doorbell, the first attacker stood in the doorway with the storm door resting on his back. That was no longer a barrier to him. He set himself up to have that fast access to the home and also to give the second attacker easy access inside as well. The version of the video that I found didn't have audio, so I'm not sure what the conversation was between the men and the homeowner, but the homeowner let the men inside. After that, there was a chaotic scene where the homeowner shot and killed one of the suspects. The other suspect was caught a short time later. Now, there's a link in the show notes to this news article where you can see the footage for yourself. The whole thing took about a minute to unfold. That's how vigilant we've got to be. A common tactic that criminals use is to look like a legitimate person who has a real reason to be at your door. Recently, Ring doorbell footage from California made headlines when a young man posed as a candy salesman to get a homeowner to open their front door. In the clip, we can see the young man go through his sales pitch and even get cash from the homeowner when suddenly several men rush the front door and take control of the home. In this attack, the person who got the homeowner to open the door wasn't the one who rushed in first. It was a blitz attack from a surprise location that got the homeowner. Criminals want to use the element of surprise to overwhelm you quickly so that you can't respond to protect yourself. So even if the person who makes contact with you looks nice, they could be a distraction for the real attackers. And this is something that criminals have used for a long time. And I want you to remember this. You don't have to open the door for anyone, not even the police. No one has the right to be in your house, and don't worry about being polite either. I have said this before, politeness can get you killed. Unless the cops have a search warrant for your home, you can turn anyone away. Now, this is a prime example of Murphy's Law, because while I was writing this episode, someone dressed as a utility worker came to my front door. So I'll share with you exactly what I did. Obviously, this is not my plan. It just worked out that way. We'll call this a God thing. So as I'm sitting here at my computer typing up this episode, I hear a knock at the front door, and then my dogs go nuts like they normally do. And dogs are very helpful in that way. Next, I opened up the security camera app on my phone to see who was there. But I couldn't see anyone because they had backed away from my door and down the steps, but I could see their shadow. Knowing that they had backed up and that the storm door was locked, I decided to open my front door. Also note that I had quick access to a defensive tool in case something went wrong, and I suggest that you do too. On my steps was a young man in a yellow safety vest, orange hard hat with a visor, long sleeves, and a bucket with tools in it. What I noticed about all of his gear was that it looked brand new. Nothing was scuffed or dirty like it had been used. That's important because a thief can go and buy all of those things at a store and look like a legitimate utility worker. Now, I didn't want to focus solely on him, so I looked across the street to see what else was going on, and there I found a white work truck with a logo on the door and new orange cones set up around the truck. Now, this young man stood at a distance, blocking my stairs, and never tried to get close to me. Nothing in his stance indicated to me like he wanted to enter my home, nor was he moving out of the way to let somebody else run by him. He explained to me that he was there to install my new power meter and that I would lose power for about 10 seconds. A few weeks earlier, my power company sent me a postcard saying that they were going to be making this change in our area, so his story checked out. I was either looking at the best thief I had ever met, or he was legitimate. His story, work truck, and the orange cones sold me on his legitimacy, but I also knew that high-level thieves could emulate this look. But what's the reality here? The most likely course of action is that he's really here to change my power meter. And that was the truth. He was very nice and he worked quickly. And while he was working, I took the time to post on my neighborhood social media that he was working in our area. I gave a short description of him and the truck, plus a positive review of his work. I wanted to help my neighbors and this utility worker to be safe. So I just wanted to share with you what my thought process was, what I did to make sure that I understood that this was a legitimate person who really did need to be on my property for whatever reason. When somebody comes to your door and you're not expecting anybody to be there, you need to understand that you need to protect your home. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how polite they are, what they tell you. If you don't want to let them in your house, you don't have to. And you don't have to explain why you don't want to let them in your house. You can just shut the door. If they continue to persist to try to gain access to your home or gain access to you or your property, you call the police. So you are far from helpless in a situation like this. I wanted to share with you what my experience was so that you could see that I was looking before I opened the door, what I saw when I opened the door, looking beyond the person that was making contact with me to see if there was anybody else who was in the area. And those are the things that you need to do when you unexpectedly have a visitor. So now you know how to show extreme discernment when somebody comes to your door. It's not simple anymore. You have to look at your front door like a bank vault door. Keep it locked, get a camera that covers it, and add a storm door for additional protection. And get a dog too. They're good for all sorts of reasons. Well, this wraps up our episode of the Secure Dad podcast for today. Thank you, friend, for listening. Get your real copy of Home Security, the Secure Dad's Guide at Amazon. Get yours at the link in today's show notes or when you search for The Secure Dad at Amazon. I'm Andy Murphy, and until next time, take care and be vigilant at your front door.